You are required to close your eyes now and choose without hesitation. That sounds like a terrible idea, I said. A few of them reacted immediately, not loudly but enough. Subtle shifts, a faint tightening of posture. The kind of reaction you only notice when everyone else is trying very hard not to react at all. Human, the tall figure in front of me replied, his voice smooth and carefully neutral. This is not a suggestion. Yeah, I figured, I muttered, glancing around the massive chamber one last time. It didn't help. The arena was enormous, far larger than anything that should exist inside a single structure. Layers of floating platforms hovered in concentric circles above and below, filled with observers from species I couldn't even begin to name. Some looked almost human, tall, elegant, skin glowing faintly like light trapped beneath glass. Others less so. Elongated limbs, eyes that reflected too much, movements too precise to feel natural. And every single one of them was watching me. Just to confirm, I added, scratching the side of my neck, I pick someone blindly, and that binds us politically, strategically, and what was the word? Irreversibly. Yes, great, no pressure. No one laughed, not even a little. That was becoming a theme. This ritual has maintained balance among empires for over 8,000 cycles, another voice added from somewhere behind me. Softer, sharper. It is not designed for your comfort. Yeah, I said, exhaling slowly. I'm starting to get that. The air in the chamber felt different now. Heavier. Not physically, but in a way that pressed against your thoughts, like the entire place was waiting for something specific to happen. Close your eyes, the first figure repeated. I hesitated, not because I didn't trust the process, because I didn't trust the situation. There's a difference. Still. I closed them, and just like that, everything changed. The sounds shifted first. The low hum of the arena deepened, stretching out into something almost rhythmic. Conversations above and around me faded into distant echoes, indistinct and irrelevant. Even the subtle movements of the crowd seemed to fall away, leaving. Something else, a presence, no multiple, I couldn't see them, but I could feel them standing somewhere ahead of me. Waiting. Proceed, the voice instructed. I didn't move right away, because now that I couldn't see anything, my brain started doing what it does best, overthinking. Okay, I murmured under my breath, so statistically I should just pick someone safe, diplomatic type. Non-lethal, preferably someone who doesn't look like they could end a war by accident. Silence then. Your reasoning is inefficient, someone said from the side. Yeah, I replied, that's never stopped me before. A few of the presences ahead shifted. I felt it, not physically, but enough. Different energies, some steady, some sharp, some unsettling, and one. One stood out, I couldn't explain it. It wasn't louder, wasn't stronger, just clearer. Like everything else in the room was noise, and that one presence was something my brain could actually understand. That's probably a bad sign, I whispered. Human, the voice warned, you are delaying. I know, I said, working on it. I took a step forward, slow, careful. The floor beneath me didn't feel entirely solid, more like it responded slightly to each movement, adjusting, aligning. Weird, very weird. I stopped again, focused, tried to ignore everything else. And that presence, it was still there, unmoving, watching, not aggressively, not passively, just there, waiting. Well, I said quietly, guess we're doing this. I reached out, didn't hesitate this time. My hand closed around someone else's, cold. Not in temperature, in control, perfectly still. The reaction was immediate, not from her, from the entire arena. A sharp, collective shift, like 1,000 conversations just died at once. The hum changed, the air tightened. And for a brief moment, even without seeing anything, I knew I had picked the wrong person, or the most important one. Selection confirmed, the voice echoed through the chamber, no longer neutral, now carrying something else. Shock. Yeah, I muttered, that doesn't sound reassuring. Slowly, very slowly, I opened my eyes, and the first thing I saw was her. She stood directly in front of me, her hands still in mine, her posture perfectly aligned, her presence overwhelming in a way that didn't need to be loud to be terrifying. She looked almost human, almost. Her features were too precise, too refined, like someone had designed them instead of letting them happen naturally. Faint lines of light traced beneath her skin, shifting subtly with each breath. And her eyes were wrong, not in shape. In depth, they didn't just look at me. They evaluated completely, without hesitation. The silence around us deepened. Then, someone spoke, you chose her. The voice wasn't confused. It was horrified. I glanced to the side. The alien who had been guiding me earlier was staring, actually staring now, all composure gone. Yeah, I said slowly. I'm starting to get the feeling that was a mistake. No one corrected me, because no one could. She is, Another voice started, then stopped abruptly, like even saying it out loud was dangerous. I looked back at her. She hadn't let go of my hand, hadn't moved, hadn't blinked. For a long second, neither of us said anything. Then, her head tilted slightly, just a fraction, and for the first time, something shifted in her expression. Not anger, not threat, something far more unexpected, curiosity. You chose without fear, she said. Her voice was calm, controlled, but not empty. I didn't know who you were, I admitted. That is irrelevant. Feels pretty relevant right now. A faint pause, then. You would not have chosen differently. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. I raised an eyebrow slightly, confident. I am accurate. That got a reaction, not from me, from the crowd. A ripple of unease spread outward, subtle but unmistakable. Some stepped back. Others turned slightly away, like being too close to this moment was dangerous. Okay, I said, glancing around briefly. Someone should probably explain why everyone looks like I just signed my own death warrant. No one answered. Of course they didn't. She did. You have bound yourself, she said, her grip on my hand tightening. Just slightly, just enough to make it clear she was very aware of exactly where I was, to the most efficient instrument of war in this galaxy. A beat, then I exhaled softly. Yeah, I said, that does sound like something I would accidentally do. For a moment, nothing happened, then. A few of them reacted again. Not fear this time, not shock, something else. They didn't understand me. And that was starting to become a problem. Or maybe the only advantage I had. You should release her hand. I would, I said, glancing down briefly, but she hasn't released mine. That earned a reaction, a small one but sharp. Several figures along the outer ring shifted, their attention narrowing in on us with something closer to alarm than curiosity now. The atmosphere in the arena had changed completely. It wasn't just tension anymore. It was calculation. She does not maintain contact unless necessary, someone said from behind me, their voice low, almost cautious. That alone. I am aware, another interrupted quickly. I looked back at her. She hadn't moved, not an inch. But her grip hadn't loosened either. Is there a reason? I asked, keeping my voice low enough that it didn't carry too far, or are we just making a strong first impression? Her eyes remained fixed on mine. You did not recoil, she said. That disappoint you? No, a pause, it complicates things. Yeah, I muttered. I'm getting that a lot today. Around us, the officials of the ritual began to move again. Slowly, carefully, like they were navigating around something unstable. The binding is complete, one of them announced, though the certainty in his voice felt forced now. The pair will proceed to compatibility evaluation. Compatibility, I repeated. That sounds optimistic. It is not, he replied. That's more on brand. A few of the nearby observers shifted again, and this time I caught it clearly, something like confusion mixed with interest. Not all of them were reacting with fear anymore. Some were watching me. Closely. She should have rejected the bond, one whispered not quietly enough. She cannot, another answered. The ritual does not allow it once initiated. Then why has she not? They stopped because she moved, not quickly, but decisively. Her grip on my hand released. At the same time, the pressure in the air seemed to ease just slightly, like something tightly wound had loosened. I flexed my fingers once. Okay, that's better. You are unaffected, she said. By what? By me. I blinked. I mean, you're definitely intense, not denying that, but I've met worse. That was a lie, probably, but it felt like the right thing to say. Several of the aliens nearby froze again, actually froze. You have not, one of them said quietly. I shrugged. Depends on your definition of worse. Her gaze lingered on me longer this time, not evaluating, not measuring, trying to understand. You should be afraid, she said. Probably, I agreed, but that doesn't seem useful right now. Another pause, longer, then. Interesting. That word landed differently. Not threatening, not dismissive, curious. The officials stepped forward again, more cautiously now. You will follow, one of them said, gesturing toward a descending platform that had formed seamlessly from the floor. The evaluation will determine operational viability. Operational viability, I repeated. You really know how to make this sound comforting. No one responded. Of course, I stepped onto the platform. She followed. The moment we did, the structure began to descend, smooth, silent, the arena above us slowly expanding into an overwhelming view of watching figures and floating architecture. For a moment, it was just the two of us. No voices, no whispers, just the low hum of the system and the faint glow of shifting light along the walls. I glanced sideways at her. You always this popular? I asked. I am not popular. Right, feared, that was the word, wasn't it? She didn't deny it. Doesn't seem to bother you. It is efficient. Yeah, I said, that tracks. Silence again, but this time. It wasn't uncomfortable, just different. You chose based on instinct, she said after a moment. Yeah. Explain. I let out a small breath. Honestly, I don't fully get it myself. Everything else in that room felt noisy, like too many signals at once. Her attention sharpened slightly, and me. You were clear, I said, like I didn't have to think about it. A faint shift passed through her expression, not visible to most, but I caught it. You perceived me differently. Guess so. That should not be possible. Well, I said lightly, seems like that S becoming a pattern. The platform slowed, then stopped. The space below was nothing like the arena, no audience, no grandeur. Just a vast, open chamber filled with shifting geometric structures. Floating panels of light, rotating constructs, systems that looked less like machines and more like something alive trying to imitate them. This is where you figure out if we're viable, right? I asked. Yes. And what happens if we're not? A pause, then. You would not survive. I nodded slowly. Yeah, that also tracks. The moment we stepped forward, the chamber responded. Light surged, structures shifted, and then something new appeared, not physical, not exactly, a presence. Different from before, larger, older, watching. I felt it immediately, so did she. Her posture changed, just slightly but enough to signal readiness. For the first time since I met her. She was cautious. What is that? I asked quietly. This system, she said, her voice lower now, more focused, was designed before current empire structures. It evaluates more than compatibility. Like what? Her eyes narrowed slightly. Truth. That wasn't reassuring. The light intensified. Patterns formed around us, complex, shifting, almost impossible to follow. Symbols flickered in and out of existence, aligning briefly before dissolving again. Then, they stopped, centered on me. Okay, I said slowly, glancing around. That feels targeted. It is, she said, and you're not concerned. I am. That got my attention. You don't sound like it. I do not display it. Convenient. The presence shifted, closer, not physically, but enough, and then the chamber spoke, not in words, in sensation. A pressure against my mind, like something trying to read or unlock something buried too deep to reach. I tensed slightly. Yeah, I don't like that. Do not resist, she said. Easy for you to say. It is not attempting to harm you. How can you tell? A pause, then. Because it is reacting. To what? She didn't answer, because in that moment, the light changed, sharpened, focused, and for a split second, something appeared, not fully, not clearly, but enough. A pattern familiar. Not visually, instinctively, like something I should recognize. But didn't I inhaled sharply? What was that? Her voice came quieter this time, more uncertain than before. That, she said, is not possible. I let out a short breath. Yeah, I said, I'm hearing that a lot today. The chamber pulsed again, stronger, and this time. It wasn't just reacting to me, it was aligning with both of us. She felt it too. I saw it in the way her stance shifted, the way her eyes flicked toward me, not as a threat, but as something else, something she hadn't expected. Human, she said slowly, what are you? I met her gaze, and for the first time, I didn't have an answer that felt even remotely close to enough. I was hoping you'd tell me, I said, because whatever this was, it wasn't random anymore, and we both knew it. Do not move. Wasn't planning to, I said, though my voice came out tighter than I wanted. The pressure in the chamber intensified, not crushing, not painful, but invasive. Like something was peeling back layers I didn't know I had, searching for a pattern it expected to find. The light around us sharpened into precise geometric structures, forming a lattice that hovered in the air between us. Symbols ancient, shifting, almost alive, locked into place one by one, each alignment sending a low pulse through the floor beneath our feet. She stepped closer, not out of fear, out of intent. This system, she said, her voice quieter now, more focused than ever, it is not testing us separately. Yeah, I muttered, I'm starting to feel that. The lattice shifted again, this time. It connected from me to her. A line of light, thin at first, then stabilizing, bridging the space between us like something that had always been there, just waiting to be seen. The moment it formed, everything stopped, the hum, the movement. Even the presence pressing against my mind, silence complete. What did we just do? I asked. Her gaze was fixed on the connection, unblinking. We did not do this, she said. It recognized us. That word again, recognized. I exhaled slowly. You're really not making this sound better. Outside the chamber, far above us, I could feel it, the reaction, the court. They weren't just watching anymore, they were responding. The walls of the chamber shifted, becoming transparent, revealing the vast arena above, now in visible unrest. Figures moved sharply, formations breaking, signals flashing between platforms. "They see it," I said. "Yes." "That's not good, is it?" "No." Her voice didn't waver, but her posture changed, subtle, defensive. "They will interpret this as a threat to established order. Which means they will act, right on cue." The chamber trembled, not from within. From outside, a deep, resonant impact echoed through the structure, followed by a surge of energy that rippled across the walls like a shockwave. "They're not wasting time," I muttered. "They cannot afford to." The connection between us pulsed again, brighter this time, stronger, and suddenly. I understood something, not fully, not clearly, but enough. "They're afraid of this," I said. "Yes." "Not me, not you, this." Her eyes flicked to mine, sharp. "Understanding, yes." Another impact, closer. The upper levels of the arena flickered, parts of the structure destabilizing under whatever force was being applied from outside. "They're trying to shut it down," I said. "They are trying to control it." Same difference. The light surged again. The lattice expanded, patterns unfolding outward, revealing something deeper, layers of information, of history, of connection that stretched far beyond this chamber. "This wasn't built for them," I said quietly. "No. For something else." A pause, then. "For us." The words settled heavily between us. Because we both knew what that meant. This wasn't random. This wasn't coincidence. The ritual, the connection. The way I chose her without knowing why, it all led here. Another violent tremor shook the chamber, this time. A section of the upper structure collapsed. Fragments of glowing architecture breaking away and dissolving into raw energy as containment systems struggled to hold. "They will breach the chamber soon," she said, "and then they will attempt to separate us." I glanced at the connection between us, still stable, still right. "Will that work?" I asked. She didn't answer immediately, then. "No." I smiled slightly. "Good." Her eyes narrowed faintly. "You are not concerned." "I am," I said, "just not about the same things they are." Another pulse, stronger. The connection flared, and this time. It hurt not physically, but deeper. Like something inside me was being pulled forward, forced into alignment with something I didn't fully understand. I staggered slightly. She reacted instantly. Her hand caught my arm, steadying me, the moment she touched me. The pain stopped. Just like that, we both froze, not because of the contact, because of what it did. The connection stabilized perfectly. "You felt that," I said. "Yes." "And you stopped it." "I did not," she said, her grip tightened slightly. "We did." That changed everything. Another impact. The chamber cracked this time, visible fractures spreading across the upper layers, energy containment failing in sections. "They're coming through," I said. "Yes." Her gaze shifted upward briefly. Then back to me, a decision forming. "You must complete the alignment," she said. "I don't know how." "You do." "I really don't." Her hand moved from my arm. To my hand this time. She chose it, the connection flared again. Brighter than before, stronger, and suddenly. Everything became clear, not logically, not in a way I could explain, but instinctively, like stepping into something I had always known how to do but never realized. "Okay," I said quietly. "I think I get it." "Then do it." The chamber shook violently as the upper barrier finally broke, figures descending rapidly, armed, precise, their movements coordinated with ruthless efficiency. Elite enforcers, not diplomats. Not observers, the kind of people sent to end problems. "Yeah," I muttered, no pressure. I stepped forward, pulling her with me. The center of the chamber responded instantly, light converging, patterns locking into place, the entire system focusing on a single point. On us, the enforcers reached the threshold, and stopped not by choice, by force, the moment the alignment completed. The entire structure activated. A wave of energy surged outward, not destructive, not violent, but absolute. It passed through everything, every surface, every being, every system. And in that moment, everything changed. The enforcers froze, not physically restrained, but unable to act. The court above fell silent, not from fear, from understanding. The connection between us stabilized completely. No longer fluctuating, no longer uncertain, permanent. The light faded slowly. The chamber returned to stillness, but the world outside it was different. I exhaled slowly, lowering my hand. "Okay," I said. That felt important. No one moved, no one spoke, because they all knew the system hadn't just evaluated us, it had chosen. Her grip on my hand didn't loosen. "This time, neither did mine." "They cannot undo this," she said quietly. I nodded. "Yeah, I figured." Her gaze met mine, not distant, not untouchable, equal. You have altered the balance of power across multiple empires. It wasn't really the plan, I said. It rarely is. A faint pause, then. Something shifted in her expression. Not cold, not controlled, something real. You chose me, she said. I smiled slightly. Didn't know what I was getting into. And now... I looked at her, at the connection that still lingered, not visible anymore, but undeniably there. Still would have chosen you, I said. Silence, then. For the first time since this all started. She didn't look like the deadliest being in the galaxy. She looked human just for a second. That, she said softly, was not the expected outcome. Yeah, I replied, starting to think that's our thing. Above us, the court remained frozen in place, not by force, but by the weight of what had just happened. Because for the first time in a very long time, something had changed that they could not control, and at the center of it was a human, and the one being no one thought could ever stand beside him, not as a weapon, not as a threat, but as something far more dangerous, a choice.